Hello, and welcome to the podcast. My name is Dr. Emmy Birch, and today we're talking to one of my friends, a singing actress and educator, and Phoebe on Friends, the Parody Musical off-Broadway. Y'all, I'm so excited for you to get to talk and hear from Hannah Thompson. Hannah and I met when we were in grad school together, and this conversation, Hannah shares the wonderful winding path that has led her to New York and the role that she is currently playing, and what life looks like as an actress singing in New York. So I'm really excited. This episode, we were thinking it kind of approaches three angles. If you are a musical theater or acting or stage or play lover, this gives you kind of a glimpse into how people make it into those roles. If you're an educator, it's a great reminder for all the things that you need to be ensuring that your students are getting if they're looking to pursue careers on stage or in the theater. And if you are a future stage singer pursuing their love of theater, this episode gives you some really great tips and tools of different ways to get there. So, this episode is brought to you by our friends over at Perform International, and I'm just so thankful that you're listening. I hope you enjoy this conversation with Hannah Thompson. Today on the podcast, we are talking to one of my colleagues and music friends, Hannah Thompson. Hi, Hannah.
Hello.
I can't believe that we are finally having this conversation after years of being in grad school together. And
Yes.
here you are.
Here we are. I know it's amazing. I was thinking about just how many years we've known each other, and
Mhm.
it's been a while since working together, and it's nice to be able to, I wouldn't even call this work, but it feels like
Yeah.
we're doing a really cool
Yeah,
project
sharing the
together.
stories. Yeah, a little
Yeah.
project. We met at University of South Carolina,
Mhm.
2017. You were starting your master's. I was starting my doctorate.
Yes.
And we sat near each other in a couple ensembles. And I have just always loved your voice
Oh,
because it can do a huge variety of sounds, but it's also clear. And my biggest memory, we were doing some concert and you and your best friend had a little opera scene in the middle of it. Or you played,
yes.
maybe you were in like Dido and Aeneas or something and you
We were
played a whole,
we
was
played
that
the
it?
we played the two witches, which
Yes.
we were putting our acting chops up to the test in the
It
choir
was
ensemble.
so
Yeah.
good. It was so good. I think I had I was front row seats to where you guys came on from where I was
Uh-huh.
sitting in the choir, and I'm like, ooh, I want more of this. Why are we
Yes.
singing when we could watch more of this?
That was such a fun thing to do as a choir ensemble, to do sort of a half-staged production. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really, really fun. But
Hmm.
now here I am in Savannah, and you are in New
New
York.
York City.
Woo!
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So you've been there a couple years, but I am dying for the listeners to hear who are you? How did you get into music? How did you get into grad school, South Carolina? And how did you end up in New York? Give us the little circle about play by play.
Yes, let me backtrack. We also shared some common interests just in music education in general. That's actually where I started out in undergrad. I was at Belmont University, and classic story of, I fell in love with choir in middle school, found sort of my niche in the world, and wanted anything to do with singing. And then we also had a very tiny theater program, but it still was sort of the birthplace for my love of theater. And then found musical theater, which is combining the two best things in the world. And
Mm-hmm.
I had such a love for it. But I also really enjoyed teaching music, and you know helping others who were like me, who just wanted to find that place and even just an outlet for your daily life, whether you wanted to become a musician or whether you wanted just to sing or make music for the love of it. And that's where I got my start. And even during undergrad and grad school, I always wanted chances to perform, because I feel like that was my first love. But I will say, I think I was a little scared of it, or not knowing if I could make it, and not knowing what it looked like to be an actor in real life. But I always wanted to be involved in any way I could. So I started getting to operas in undergrad, and sort of working that performing bone, the sort of the performing muscle, I should say. And that got me into wanting to learn more about the voice. And the more experiences I got, the more feedback I got about, maybe you should pursue this. You have a voice for something in here. And I became obsessed with opera all of a sudden, and these big, grand theater performances. And so that's what got me to grad school at USC, was wanting to perform and sing as much as I could, and also the art of teaching privately. I became really passionate about that as well. I loved the classroom. I loved working, especially with middle schooler age kids. And but then I really appreciated working one-on-one with a student, because you get so much further in their study and their craft. Um, and you can focus in, the work a little bit more. So I wanted to learn how to teach music at that capacity, and that's what got me to grad school.
S-
Um,
So
yeah.
that's when I met you, and you were just all in on opera and teaching, and
Mm.
you were doing private lessons and working. You worked at so many different jobs in
I
grad
did.
school.
Yeah.
You were
Yeah,
teaching anywhere they would let you. It was amazing to see.
I was able to develop a great studio in South Carolina. Well, a couple different studios, but I had some amazing students that I had for a very long time. I got involved with town theater after grad school, and that's where I was able to sort of find my love again for musical theater. And I was able to be involved with especially the middle school age kids, doing a couple of classes for them, as well as private lessons. And so it just was all the loves coming together, and, building up community theater as well. And there's a lot of great theater in South Carolina, in Columbia at least. And it was really great to be a part of that. And I think I had a lot of great mentors there, and a couple other theaters in South Carolina
Yeah.
that, um, again, encouraged me to pursue this, and thinking you should be singing musical theater. And, I think that's where it fit best with my voice. And just that's what I was so passionate about and would geek over throughout my life.
I love it. So
Yeah.
you were in South Carolina teaching all these things after grad school. When
Mhm.
did you decide to make the leap and go up to New York?
It really was, me and my friend wanting to just move to New York right after grad school. And of course, the pandemic happened, and that delayed our travels. However, I got to do a new play written by a playwright named Lou Clyde. And she was having the premiere of this piece at a festival in New York. And that was back in 2021. And I got the lead role in that, and we got to take it to New York. We had one performance of it as part of the festival, and I think that clicked into place, this need to be here. It's something that I wanted since I was young, and it's like, I need to do this now or never, really.
That's so cool. Okay, so you took the plunge, you moved up to New York, and then how did, like, spoiler, Hannah has a really awesome role, and I can't wait to talk about that more. But
Yeah.
what did you do when you got up there? You said goodbye to all your private students, and then what?
And then I was jumping right into the audition circuit for primarily musical theater. I was also really learning what that looked like for the first time. I'd gone on some opera auditions during grad school and after, when I was looking at some different opera companies. And so I knew, the gist of auditioning, and, what you need to prepare. But musical theater is a little bit different. And in a world where virtual auditions are becoming more and more the norm, I was learning about making these cuts of songs and having audition sides ready and a video reel of all of your work and just trying to put all of that together and building a musical theater book of audition songs I could bring. So that was, I think, a big learning curve for me because it's a little bit different than the opera world. But I'd say that was the first part, was establishing, what can I present at these auditions so that I feel ready, and I can, put my best foot forward. And then really it was also networking and building relationships with different coaches and teachers and people in the industry in general, finding other actors who are doing the same thing as I was, and really just asking questions when I didn't know the answer to, and there were many that I didn't know, and not being afraid to ask those questions and figure it out for myself.
That's such a great tip in and of itself. Like,
Yeah.
A, jump, go do it. You'll figure it out. And B, ask the question. So then you enter the audition circuit and you are auditioning how often?
Oh, you're really looking at sort of the audition posts every day, similar to if you're looking for a job. You're always on those pages, you're sending out resumes. And I'd say, in terms of me looking at upcoming auditions, it was daily. And then, you try to find times in the week to maybe record new pieces for yourself, or you're going to the auditions and, having your book ready. Um, I'd say maybe twice a week I was going in person if it wasn't already scheduled. And then the rest I was doing a lot of times from my room at home, in my little apartment. So it was sort of something you're always looking towards, and then also trying to work and pay your rent. It's, begins the juggle of any actor here or any creative
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. So I know for a short time you were doing like some really cool princess parties or something like that. You were,
Yeah. Yeah, I was working with, well, and I still am. I'm working with a company called Juliet and Ella's Playdate, and they provide music classes for infant to toddler ages, which I love. I get to sing and dance with babies. Their parents or their nannies come, and we, I always say we're sort of a live action Sesame Street. We're teaching colors, numbers, sign language, ballet, and music, and just combining a play date for them and their family members. And on top of that, we do princess or character parties throughout the city. So I've been Elsa and Belle and Ariel many, many times.
that's so much fun. So do you have a manager who is helping with all this, or are you going at it managing and representing yourself?
Right now, just managing myself. That's another thing that I'm doing is, you sort of are auditioning for management. If that's the route you want to take, they can help you with getting more auditions or just getting into doors that you didn't know were possible. Um, and yeah, that takes a lot of auditioning for them, and similar to finding a job, you're just waiting for someone to say yes to you. But right now, yes, it's all by myself.
Oh, I am super impressed. So now you have to tell everybody, what role are you playing and in what show? I'm so excited. You have to walk us through how you got that.
Yes, so I play Phoebe Buffet in Friends, the musical parody, and it's an off-Broadway show musical about the hit sitcom Friends, if you know it.
Yeah, we do. And I saw it and it was so good. Okay, I'm done. Keep
Yes.
going.
I was a huge fan of Friends growing up, so I saw the audition, was like, yeah, I definitely want to do that. And Phoebe is partially one of my favorite characters, so I was really excited to get that one. Um, and yeah, I've been in the show since the end of May, so it's been about 3 months, which is crazy. Time has really flown. But that process looked like any other audition. I was looking at the audition boards. I actually saw there's a couple different parody musicals that happen in our theater. There's a Seinfeld parody show, The Office, and ours. We are the three parody shows there. And I auditioned for The Office first, actually, and went in. I didn't hear anything. A couple of months later, they asked me to come in for the Phoebe role, and I sang and read for her. And then a couple months later, they said, "We have an opening for Phoebe. Would you like to play her?" And I immediately said
Wow.
yes.
Talk about patience. Like you have to be so patient with
It
those
really was
months in
about a
between
year in the
things.
making. Yeah.
Wow. And then
Mhm.
how long did you have to learn the role before you went on?
I had about 2 weeks or
Ooh.
so. Yes, it was quite fast, maybe 2.5 weeks. I got the part, and then they sent out the script and the music. The way our company works is you have a music rehearsal, a blocking rehearsal, a choreography rehearsal, and then a final dress, or what we call a put-in rehearsal with the full cast. And you do that once, and then you are on after that. Yeah. I will say I was able to go see the show multiple times, which was such a huge help. Oh, can you hear me okay? Are we frozen? Luckily, luckily, I got to see the show a couple of times and I got to meet the cast beforehand. So I had a great idea of how it worked, and I was able to talk to the Phoebe that I replaced, just got pointers from her and the rest of the cast. And really, I mean, what was comforting about it is I was with a cast of people who've done this show so many times, and they weren't going to let me fall. They were going to be there for me. No pun intended, I'll be there for you. But um, you know, I think I was most nervous about the put-in rehearsal and just doing it for the first time. And once I was done with that, I was ready to go.
That's
And
awesome.
luckily, it's 5 shows a week, so you get used to it so quickly. And I was kind of amazed at how comfortable I felt after the maybe first 2 weekends of the show. I felt pretty solid. And I'd say in the last month is when, I've been able to play with the character a little bit more and make it my own. And it feels the most comfortable right now. And, something that is a character that I get to continue to explore.
That's so much fun. 5 a week. Okay, what's
Five a
your
week.
what's your endurance tip for that? How do you stay engaged, excited? You said you were exploring the character, but
Yes,
5 shows a week.
it was an adjustment, just even to start working at night, and I still have jobs during the day and finding endurance for that. Um, I have to be pretty strict with, when I have off time, it's a time to actually reset and unwind. Um, it's helped not to push me so much. I mean, we spoke before, I've had lots of jobs at once in the past, and this is where I had to maybe be a little bit selfish and really think about myself in this situation of, how am I going to give my best performance? And also, how am I going to conserve my voice over 5 shows a week? And so making some decisions to, keep myself healthy, especially, and keep my castmates healthy. I'd say I've gotten my routine down of how I prep for the show every day, how I unwind at night. That's a really tough one because you have so much adrenaline after a show.
I
And,
bet.
I try to turn off my phone, or, try to read or listen to something on my long train ride home, and actually get to bed, actually hydrate all day. Yeah, and just being kind to myself in that way instead of trying to push myself to the limits all the time.
So do you have to, among all this, speaking of limits and boundaries and time, are you still looking at other shows or do you settle into this one for a while and then pick up auditions again down the road?
Yeah, great question. I have recently started getting back into the audition circuit, and I'm not looking to move on anytime soon, but I think it's more of a practice of staying on top of your auditions and keeping your voice up to date, and trying to maybe push yourself in that way of how you can stay strong in your other skills. And even just singing other material is great, and not getting stuck in the same show over and over. I'd say within the last couple of weeks, I felt like I could start looking at other things, and especially looking for projects in the city. I've been able to do a couple of concerts and film projects recently, which was quite a handful while doing the show, but I'd say the show is the priority, and then anything I can do to work around that is a joy and a gift.
That's so much fun. It's exciting to see how you're piecing together a really fun life and career doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing.
Right. Yeah. What does an actor's life look like? That's sort of what we're figuring out now.
Okay, so for anyone listening, there's like three different types of audiences that could be listening to this. There's the
Mhm.
people that are interested in musical theater. There's the educators that are out there teaching the next wave of musical artists. And there's students who are pursuing exactly what you're doing. So, could you give a little nugget to each of those? We'll start with the people who are really interested in musical theater. What's something that you think they should know from the singing actor's perspective?
Ooh, great question. Um, I'd say if you are also pursuing this in any capacity, I think sometimes there's a pressure to be everything for everyone. You have to be good at everything. You have to sing every single type of genre. And that can be quite daunting. And you can feel spread thin, or you can feel like um, you're not capable of a certain trait. But I would say focus in on what you are good at. Choose repertoire that highlights your voice in the best way instead of trying to put on a different voice, almost like a different costume or something. Find what your voice or what your body is good at. If you're a dancer, what types of genres of dance do you thrive in? And highlight that as a huge strength while you're still pursuing other genres and working out other techniques to make you more versatile. But I'd say go with what your strengths are and highlight those as opposed to just focusing on being the most versatile actor and singer. Because I think the biggest thing, especially in auditions. And I was listening to another podcast you had with the producer of The Outsiders.
Yeah,
And,
Christina.
from a casting perspective, she said, be yourself. That's what they see most of all. And if you're going in confident and knowing that you yourself can do a good job in this role, or you know what you could bring to this role, that's what they see over the best singing, the best dancing, the best line reading, because that can be worked on in rehearsal. And so really just showing your strengths is my my little negative wisdom.
That's so good. Okay, I have the most random question.
Yeah.
What is your favorite scene or thing that you do in Friends? Like,
Mm,
personally, the umbrella opening set is like, yes, but
pretty
then there were
iconic.
so many times that I was just laughing hysterically. But what is
Mhm.
your favorite part in the show?
For Phoebe to do, she plays the guitar, which was a little bit daunting. I played just a little bit, and I play enough to work with the Phoebe role, but I love messing around on the guitar, and she gets to sing a couple of iconic little numbers, and similar to her role in the TV show. And so I like playing the guitar and singing and just messing around with it. That's a favorite of mine. I also love any of the scenes, really just where we're in almost a six-part harmony, and it's so much fun just singing with everybody. I know that's a very broad favorite part,
Mm-mm.
but anytime we're all just wailing on our notes and also being so over dramatic. There's lots of those scenes in the show, but anytime Phoebe gets to be really zany with the rest of her friends is great.
The cast fits really well together. I was really impressed with
Really
all the
do.
voices and the personalities fit the people so like the Monica.
I
God, I love
know.
the
Yeah,
Monica.
she was
And the
amazing.
Rachel, like they're all just so good. And
Yes.
heavens, be ready, y'all. Like watch Chandler because the number of costume changes, I was not ready for it.
Oh,
Can I
it's
ask
wild.
you a crazy question?
Yeah.
What's been your like most mortifying, like, oh my God, I can't believe that just happened moment so far?
So I started is actually a guitar moment where she's trying to write a song, basically. That's Phoebe's sort of overarching purpose in the show is she's trying to write the best song. And I'm supposed to be fiddling around on the guitar, and I sang the wrong line. It's like at the top of Act 2 as well. And I out loud said, nope. And then I went into the correct one. It was more of, why did you show that you made a mistake? Just pretend like
I
nothing happened. They don't know. So that was a big lesson of don't show your cards. Don't show when you've made a mistake. Um,
I bet nobody knew. That sounds like such a Phoebe thing to do. Nope.
nope.
Again.
Maybe I played it off as that. Yeah, I
I'm
hope so.
sure. I'm
I've
sure it was.
definitely interacted with the wrong character at the moment, and I will say, because my cast is just so funny, they crack me up every night, and we all sometimes have a hard time keeping it together. There's a lot of breaking, even the audience can make us break too. So I try to keep my composure, but sometimes if the whole room is laughing, we just have more fun that way.
It's a fun show. I 100% recommend it. It was such a fun show to see. And to see you in your element was like, oh, how cool is this? Like you're
Yeah.
doing it. It's so awesome. Well, I appreciate your time and coming on here and sharing your story of music lover to music educator to teacher, community theater, all the way to New York. Phoebe Friends, the parody musical.
Yes,
So
come see
cool.
us. If you like the show, if you have never even seen the show, I've heard from multiple people who've not really seen Friends who love it, which is always such a big compliment, because we're just providing a fun, entertaining show, even if you have no connection to the TV show.
Yeah, it would be funny either way, but
Hmm.
well done and well sold. All right, I always give the guest one final thing that matters that you want the listener to walk away from the episode with.
Yeah.
What is I know that's a big ask. What's the one
Yeah.
thing?
The first thing I thought of, and what I'm really trying to do, especially with this show, is learning to trust myself. Um, you're especially in a show or just in life, you've got a lot of decisions to make, and you want to trust your gut, especially if you're being asked to do lots of different things or trying to, carve out your path in this world, whatever that is. Trust yourself and trust those around you who are encouraging you and continually building you up. That's going to really help you get to where you need to go.
Oh, I love it. I'm so excited to see what you continue to do, and thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks, Emmy, for having me. It was a pleasure.
All right, friends, you ready to trust yourself? Isn't it just so cool to hear all the different stories and all the different things that we have to trust ourselves in order to be on the path that we're supposed to be? So, whatever you're doing today, I hope you know that you really matter. We all know that musical theater and being singing actors and actresses matters. And I'll see you next time.